Welcome to Macrocode, and today we are going to learn about Python. So we are going to download and install Python, download and also install our IDE that we'll be using. Then we'll begin our series about Python fundamentals. So what is Python? Python is a high-level general-purpose interpreted programming language, and when we say high-level, we mean that the language is actually easy to learn. The general purpose in Python means that you can use Python in various domains, that is in web applications, big data and applications, testing, automation, data science, machine learning, and AI. Also, we have desktop software and even the mobile apps. So when we say Python is interpreted language, to develop a Python program, you write Python code into a file called a source code. So you are going to see that because Python actually is easy to learn. So why should we learn Python? Python increases your productivity. Pythons allow you to solve complex problems in less time and fewer lines of code. So it's quick to make a prototype in Python. So I'll recommend you guys, if you're new to software development, then you can actually start with Python programming. So Python is quite easy to learn in comparison with other programming languages, and the syntax is clear and beautiful when you start learning with Python. So Python has two major versions. We have the currently we are actually having from 3.1 going forward, and we have another version for 2.1 released in 2000. So currently version that is ongoing release is actually 3.1 up to we are at 3.11 currently. So in summary, we are using Python version 3.10. Then if you are new, you can actually download it. So how do you download Python? So if you open your browser, type in Python, then you'll be able to see this screen. So click on it, then you can download Python on this screen. You can see we have Python version 3.11.1. So if you click download, you can be able to download the versions. So click on this link and Python will download on your screen down here. You can see mine is already downloaded. Then after we have done that, we need to install what we call IDE, where we'll be writing our code to demonstrate Python programming. So I'll recommend you download what we call PyCharm, which is this is how we write it, PyCharm, which will be our IDE throughout the video. So we'll be using this IDE to demonstrate more about Python. So you can download the IDE, then we can see how we write code in Python. So if you click download, then you should be able to download a trial version for professional. And if you are a developer just who want to learn, we have the community version, which is actually free for Python development. So you can actually download this. So I've installed my PyCharm, and we will start our today's session with what we called variables in Python. So what is variables? So what is variable in Python? So when you develop a program, you need to manage values, and a lot of them. So to store these values, we use what we call variables. So in Python, a variable is a label that you can assign a value to it. So for example, we are going to print our first message today, and this message will be welcome to Macrocode channel. So this will be our variable. So I've said in our statement, as I've just said, a variable is a label that you can assign a value. So this is my label, and the value is this string. So if I want to output this string, I'll just say print, and I give in the message. So if I right click on my PyCharm, we have this section called run a string. So this is my code. So I think I jumped something on how you can create a new file. click on your project, then new, then a Python file. So if you click Python file, it will prompt you to actually give it a name. So we can say, let me just do away with this one so that we start from scratch. Delete. So if I just click new, then a Python, then I will say hello. So this is my first file. So I'll just type in now our message. So this is our variable, then we assign it a value. So we are saying welcome to macro code channel. So we need to print this, so we'll write print, then we can give in the message. If you right click on your IDE, you can see we run hello. So run hello. Hello is our file. And our file extension, if you are keen to our file extension, it is .py. So that is the file extension for Python. So if we run this, you will see at below here, we have welcome to macro code a channel. So if you can do, we can copy this and do another one. You can say subscribe to our channel. So if we, so one thing that I want you to note, you see we have these variable and we also have this one. So if we try to print, it will actually give us the same output that we have assigned. So we assigned the first value, it gave us welcome to macro code channel. Then the second value is subscribe to our channel. So we have now used a variable. So the syntax is actually you create the variable name and you provide it with a value. So we use this assign equal sign to actually assign, we call it the assign operator. So this is actually an assign operator. So we'll be able to learn more about operators in our next videos. But today is just the fundamentals and the basics of Python. So I'll give you an assignment today. So learn how, something that you need to keep in mind. So naming of variables has rules. So when naming variables, names should only contain letters, numbers, and underscores. They can start with a letter or an underscore and not with a number. So also naming variables cannot contain spaces. So you can actually learn more about variables namings and Google more about it. You'll be able to learn it. So that is more about variables. So we have been able to learn about variables. So the next thing that we can learn is actually strings. So what is strings in Python? So a string is a series of characters. So in Python, anything inside quotes is a string. So, and you can actually use either single or double quotes. So for example, we can use our variable message, then we can assign to. So we have said anything in double quotes or single quotes is actually a string. So you can say welcome to macro code, and we can print this. So you'll say message. So if you right click and run, you can see this is welcome to macro code. So message is our variable and this is our value. So this value is actually a string. This is a string. So as we have just said, anything inside double quotes or single quotes is a string. So we can actually define these using single quotes. So Python accepts that. So if we just do away with that, then provide single quotes, and we can actually run this again, you'll see welcome to macro code. So if a string contains a single quote, you should place it in double quotes also. So if we, for example, assuming we want something, we have a string that contains a single quote. So we'll say it's your turn. It's your turn to subscribe. It's your turn to subscribe to macro code. So assuming we put in a single quote on our its, you see we will be getting an error. So to avoid this error, we'll actually put this in double quotes. So if you have a string that it has a single quote inside it, you should put the whole string in double quotes. So if we just run this, we'll be able to see it's your turn to subscribe to macro code. So that is what I meant. So, and when strings contain double quotes, you can use the single quotes as well to actually output it. So that is more about strings. So assuming we have two strings that we want to concatenate, we can say my first name, this is our variable, first name is a macro code. No, we can say macro. Then our second name is, can say code. So assuming we want to output these two names, so what we need to do, we can actually do first name, then we can use plus sign to do what we call concatenation. It will actually add the two. Sorry. So second name, then you can close. So if we output this, we'll be able to see macro code. So it has taken the first and the second name and actually put it into one string. So that is the output. So another thing that you need to know is assuming you want to use a value inside a string, so like a variable. So assuming we say we have this, we say my name is, so if we do that, then we do this. We just want to actually concatenate, so we can actually do this, then we do this again. You see my name is, and you can actually output it. You see my name is macro code, so you can actually do that. So that is more about strings. You can do more examples about strings. So let's do something more interesting about numbers. So what is numbers? So Python supports integers, floats, and complex numbers. So integers are numbers such as -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3 going on, and they have a type called int. So we use this to define integers. Integers in Python. So you can use math operators like plus sign, minus sign, multiplication, division to actually form expression that include the integers. For example, you can actually do in Python, you can do print, then you add two numbers. You say 4 plus 7. It will give you the results. So you can see it is 11. You can also do 50, 60 plus 70. It will give you the results. So what we are interacting with are actually numbers with what we call arithmetic operators. So we'll look at these in our next videos. So you can also do multiplication. Sorry. You can do 60 times 70. If you run our code, you get the value. You can do 6. Let's do small number. 6 times 7. It will be 42. You can also do 60 divided by 10. So we use that, then we will get the value. We get 6.0. So that is the value. So you can also do that. You can also interact with floats. So floats, any number with a decimal point is a floating point number. So the term float means that the decimal point can appear at any position in a number. So if we do 6.9 times 6.4, let's do multiplication. So you can actually also interact with floating numbers. You can see it is 44.7168. These are decimal numbers. So you can also do a small figure. you run, you can see we still have the value. You can also do a minus sign. It will give you the results 0.5. You can also do plus sign with decimals, gives you 13.3. So that is numbers. So you have seen division, addition, multiplication, and even the divisions. So that is about numbers in Python. So let's look more about booleans. So what we are actually doing is the Python fundamentals. So we'll be diving deeper in Python in our next video. So if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing so that you don't miss out on this exciting journey. So in programming, you often want to check if a condition is true or not and perform some action based on the results. So to represent true and false, Python provides us with a Boolean data type. So the Boolean value has a technical name as bool. We call it bool. So this is the technical name. So the bool data type has two values. It is either true or false. So it actually has these two values. So we can actually define, we can say is, you can call it is active is equals to true. You can say is admin, or is admin is equals to false. So we use capital here. This is true. That is the value. Then false. Make sure you use a caps. So that is how it is represented. So so in Python, we can use this to express, to actually give expressions. For example, we want to check if a certain value is greater than another. We can say print, just print it. We say 20 is greater than 10. So this one, it will give us an output. And what is the output? It should be a true or false. So if we run this, you see it is saying true. That means 20 is greater than 10. So you can say 200 is greater than 10 and print it again, we say it is true. If 200 is greater than 1000, what does it say? It says it is false. So of course 200 is not greater than 1000. You can also do less than sign. So we are using these signs. So we say 20 is less than 1000, it is true. 200 is less than 1000, it is true. We say 2000 is less than 1000, it says it is actually false. So that is, we have done comparison of integers. We can also do a comparison of strings. We say a is less than b. What does it say? A is less than b, true. You say b is less than a, it is false. So that is how you deal with booleans. So that is how you use boolean in Python. So Python data type has two values, true and false, for booleans. So let's do something interesting called constants. So sometimes you may want to store values in variables, but you don't want those values to be changed or altered. So we use constants. So to do this in programming, that is in Python, we use constants. So the constants are like variables, but their values don't change during the program execution period. So the bad news is that Python doesn't support constants, but to work around these, you usually use capital letters to name a variable to indicate that the variable should be treated as a constant. So Python actually doesn't support constants, but we use capital letters. So for example, you say size is equals to 2000. So when we encounter a variable like this, when execution, you should actually not change their values. So these variables are constant by convention and not by rules. So Python doesn't have a built-in constants, but it actually uses these to uh, 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 detect. So by convention, Python uses a variable whose name contain all capital letters to define a constant. So if you just put in a variable with all capital letters, that means this is a constant. So that is how you do it. So in case you come around anything in Python that is being developed and it is in capital letters, just know that that is a constant value and don't alter. So that is it in Python. So let's do something. Actually, you might have noticed I've been doing some comments on our IDE. So let's do something called Python comments. So sometimes you may want to document the code that you write. So for example, you may want to note why a piece of code works and why it doesn't work. So to do it, you might use a comment. So typically, you use comments to explain formulas, algorithms, and complex business logics. And even when executing a program, the Python interpreter ignores those comments and only interprets the code. So Python provides three kinds of comments, including a block comment, an inline comment, and a documentation string. So Python block comments explain the code that follows it. For example, if you want to try to say age is equals to age times, or we say price, let's define something else. Is equals to price, we say 1 times 200. So if in case you want to explain this code, we use what we call a Python block comments at the. So in Python to define block comments, we use hashtag. Then you say this is the price. So you can see it is actually commented. So if we print our price, it will give us the value. So you can see the price is 200. That is 1 times 2. So this code has not been executed. So assuming we want to put in so we call this a block comments. So these block comments means it is used to explain the code that follows it. So it is actually used to explain this code below. But in case you want an inline comment means it is actually explaining the same line as the statement. So you actually copy this and you can put it in front of that line of code. So if you run it, we have 200 and we still have our comments. So that is how you do inline comments and block comments in Python. So that is majorly about comments in Python. So another thing that maybe I'll finish our video today, and before I finish, consider subscribing, like, and comment down below. So let's see something called type conversion in Python before we end our video today. So to get inputs from users, you can actually use what we call input function. So let's do this. So assuming we want to get some values from user input. So let's say value is equals to input. We use input keyword or input function. Then we can instruct the user. We say enter your age. Then we want to print that age value. We can actually call this age. Then you want to print age. So if I just run this, it will ask enter your age. So if we type in 20, you see it will give us the output. So you type in 20 and press enter, it will give us the output, which is 20. So however, something that you might note, the input function returns a string and not an integer. So for example, if we want to take in the price of a value, say price is enter the item price. Then we want to take in also maybe the tax value, say tax. Then you say enter the tax rate. So you want to take, so this value will be in, we say Kenya shillings, or we say this will be in Kenya shillings as well. So this is actually in percentage. So this is the tax rate in percentage. Then you want to take the net price of that item. So what we'll do is we say price times, so we times the tax, then these values we need to divide by 100. Then we need to print the net price. So if we execute this, it will ask us enter the item price in Kenyan shillings. We say 500. So if we enter, it will ask us enter the tax rate. We say 16 in percent. So let's do that. Then you can see it is actually giving an error. It can't multiply sequence by int of type string. So that is the issue that we are having. So what do we need to do to ensure that we convert this price input that was provided and the tax input to integers? We do this int, then into bracket, then we also do int into bracket tax. So if we execute our program, we'll be getting enter the item price in Kenya shillings. We say 500, then enter the tax rate in so we say 16. Then we get the output. Our net price is 80. So that is the net price. So that is the net price in Kenya shillings. So you can actually use the type conversion to do, for example, in case you want it to be a string, you use a string here and it will convert your user input to string. In case you want it to float, you use a float. You also use on the other hand float, it will convert it to float. In case you want the user input to be boolean, you use bool keyword and it will convert it to bool. So that is Python fundamentals. So we'll be proceeding with this video in our next series. Consider watching our videos and even subscribing, and actually turn on the notification bell to get more notifications when we post our videos. See you in our next video. So to do that,